The other day, when we were going for a short ride with our daughter Becky and some of her friends, I started thinking about what it was like when I was a kid with a bike, the freedom it seemed to give and the fun we had. But I wondered, do I really remember what it was like being a kid on a bike? Remember what the world looked like when I was riding my bike? And I thought, now that Becky's starting to ride a bike, it's important to look at things from a kid's eye view, because kids are different. They don't see things the way adults do. To start with, they're smaller. We can see over cars, while a child's view is often blocked by both parked cars and traffic. And children have a considerably narrower field of vision than adults. Kids have a different sense of what's important, and they are easily distracted by what's happening around them. Our example influences them, for better or worse. So does peer pressure. And while they want to do things the right way, sometimes they forget or get distracted. And they feel that when they're off the street, they are out of danger. There are lots of things we need to teach our kids that would have made this bike ride or any bike ride safer. Here are some of the things we've learned. Make sure their bike is the right size and is in good working order. They should be able to stand flat-footed over the bike. There should be at least an inch of space between their body and the top bar. If your child has a step-through frame, there should be an inch above where the bar would be. Before starting any ride, everyone should be wearing a bicycle helmet, no matter where you are riding, no matter how short the ride. We value Becky's life and our own. That's why Jim and I wear our helmets every time we ride our bikes. We insist that Becky does too. She knows that if she doesn't wear her helmet, she's not going to ride her bike. Think of what happens to an egg when you drop it. Your head is not that much different. A soft mass inside a thin protective shell. When you put an egg inside a helmet, the helmet, not the egg, absorbs the shock. The same goes for your head. There's a wide variety of bicycle helmets available these days. Choose one that is comfortable and fits well. A helmet that fits properly will not be loose, and it will sit firmly and level on your head. The chin strap should be snug, with just enough room to slip one finger between it and your chin. Inside of the helmet you're buying should either be an ANSI or SNELL label showing that it meets safety standards. If you have a crash where your helmet hits the pavement or any hard surface, replace it immediately. Now let's take a look at that ride. One of the most common mistakes kids make is riding out into the street without stopping first and making sure there's no traffic. We grown-ups know that when we enter a street, the cars on the street have the right of way. We know how to judge the speed and distance of oncoming traffic. Children don't know these rules of traffic and are much less able to judge the speed of approaching cars. They often make the mistake of assuming that because they can see the car, the driver can see them. Because kids are small, drivers actually have a harder time seeing them. We need to teach them the traffic rules and when it's safe to enter the street. Teach them to always stop before entering the street. If there are parked cars, check them for drivers or running engines, which could mean they are about to pull out into the street. Then stop again at the edge of the cars. With pedals in the ready position, teach them to look left first. Look right, then look left again. And really look, not just turn their heads back and forth. We need to teach them that only when the way is clear in both directions is it safe to ride into the street. Once on the street, the kids made a number of common mistakes. See if you can find them. First, they were riding bunched up in a group. Second, they were all over the street, weaving in and out of parked cars. Third, this kid was riding the wrong way. Always ride on the right side of the street, going in the same direction as other traffic. Never ride the wrong way against traffic. Drivers are not looking for wrong-way bicyclists. Ride single file approximately 3 feet from the curb or edge of the road to avoid common hazards. If there are cars parked along the street, ride in a straight line about 3 feet away from the cars. Remaining alert for opening car doors, parked cars pulling out into traffic, and cars entering from driveways. Just because you see the car doesn't mean the driver sees you. When they came to the stop sign, the driver of the car set a bad example for the kids. It's never okay for anybody to run a stop sign, whether you're driving a car or riding a bike. The kids' mistake here was forgetting that they're riding bikes, not playing follow the leader. Each rider needs to stop and make their own decisions about when it's safe to go again. They should not rely on anyone else's judgment. At stop signs, use the same procedure you use for entering the street from a driveway. Stop, look left, look right, look left again. Use your judgment. Making a left turn correctly is something most cyclists don't understand. What can you see that our cyclists did wrong? First of all, there's the kids' position on the street. And, more importantly, the fact that they didn't check behind for traffic. When making a left turn, the bicyclist should get positioned to the left side of the lane. To do this, first scan to the rear. When it is clear behind, signal your move and swerve to the left, but not over the center line. Then, after checking left, right, and left again, and for oncoming traffic, complete the turn. The hand signal is good. It lets drivers know that you plan to turn. But before turning, you need to know if cars are close behind you. Hand signals are never a substitute for looking to the rear for traffic. Making any left movement without rear scanning is one of the major causes of car-bike crashes for kids. That's why this area is called the danger zone. Teach your children how to properly rear scan by having them ride in a straight line in a quiet area like a sidewalk. Have them look over their left shoulder and tell you how many fingers you are holding up. Make sure they understand they need to check in back of them whenever they enter the danger zone. Riding on the sidewalk can give children a false sense of security. While it's true there's no car traffic on the sidewalk itself, cars will be crossing the sidewalk as they pull into and back out of driveways. At intersections, drivers don't always look for bicyclists on the sidewalk. In fact, drivers rarely look at the sidewalk to the right, which poses a problem for bicyclists going the wrong way on the sidewalk. That's why it's important to communicate with motorists to find out if they see you. And remember, sidewalks are designed for pedestrians, not bicyclists. When riding on the sidewalk, always be courteous, slow down, and let people know you are coming before passing them. Yes, bicycling is fun. Just as much fun as you remember it being when you were a child. But that fun carries with it a lot of responsibility. A responsibility on the part of parents to remember that children are different, to understand the kid's eye view of the world around them. A responsibility to help, encourage, and teach your children to be safe, responsible bicyclists. To make sure your children know that safe bicycling means
use a properly sized bike and keep it in good working order.
Always wear a helmet whenever you ride.
Always look left, look right, look left again for traffic.
Always ride single file in the same direction as other traffic on the street.
Always follow traffic laws.
Make your own decisions instead of just following the leader.
Always scan to the rear before turning or making any movement to the left.
Always respect the rights of motorists, other bicyclists, and pedestrians.
And parents, when you're riding your bikes with your children, always set a good example by being a safe, responsible bicyclist yourself. Remember, your children are watching from a kid's eye view.